Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome. So, a little bit late with my wrap up for March. This is the first time I've had a chance to actually sit down and record it. I have been away, well I had computer issues and then I was in Italy and then I was sickish, yada yada yada. So anyway, it's about time we go through the books that I read back in March. And there'll probably be another reading wrap up next week because it's April. No, it's not April next week. It's May next week. I'm behind, it's fine, okay. So I have 10 books to talk about. I have this little I'm doing statistics now in my reading journal. So I read a total of 5,306 pages. I have 6 books, 6 physical books, one of which is a graphic novel or a manga, a collection manga, like a big thick manga? Okay. 4 ebooks, 3 of them were arcs as well, and I read 171 pages on average per day over the course of March, which I feel like is a lot. I don't really know where that, I don't know how, I don't know, I have no idea. But anyway, it seems like a lot. Definitely read a lot less here in April, but I still got time to catch up, I suppose. So we're gonna talk about the books, and I'll make sure not to forget anything because I feel like I have been close to doing that the last 3 times or something. Let's start out with the book's primary pick for March. By the way, if you want to check out the book club, there's a link to it in the pinned comment. We read A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen, which is a romantasy, I want to say adult mythology vibes as well. Definitely takes inspiration from Norse gods, which, yeah, you know, I'm Danish, so that is so cool. I might be slightly biased when it comes to this book. It's both romantasy, which is a genre that I love, but also Norse gods. It's a combination that just hits me, you know? It hits the right spot. So in this book we follow Freya, I think her name is Freya, who is the child of a god, or she has what they call a drop of god's blood, and she's been keeping this a secret. However, something happens and she has been outed as the daughter of Hlyn, who is goddess of protection, but she's a smaller Norse god. And so to simplify this a little bit, she had a husband who's no longer her husband, and then she's taken off with the Jarl and his crew. Is he not a Jarl? Oh, I can't even check it. Because I didn't read this edition. What is your name? Snorri. I hate him. I hate him so much. But anyway, she's gonna get married to this guy all of a sudden because there's a lot to talk about prophecies in this book, and her prophecy is she's gonna make someone big and powerful, the king in these lands. The king. And so Snorri's you're gonna work with me, I'm gonna be the king, and you're gonna get me there. He also has a son whose name is Bjorn, which by the way means bear, just in case you want to know. Nobody asked, but I'm gonna give you information anyway. He has a drop of tears blood. Tyr. I forgot what he is god of, but something. And so his power is that while Freya can summon a shield, essentially they call her the shield maiden, Bjorn can summon a fiery axe. And so he's been told, you need to protect her, you need to make sure nothing happens to her, you need to train her as well, and so on and so on. So the two of them don't really get along at the start, but you know, it's a romantasy. Stuff happens, okay. And so that's all I think I'm gonna say. Also, she goes with Snorri because Snorri is also a manipulative, threatening man, and I hated him throughout the entire book. The entire book. I thought he was so ugh. Anyway, you're also supposed to hate him, just want to say. It's okay to hate Snorri. You're definitely supposed to feel some frustrations from Freya's behalf that are aimed at Snorri because he's so he doesn't really care about her well-being, for example. He's basically tunnel visioning on this prophecy thing so bad that he's well, your toes are freezing off. It's just a test from the gods. You figure it out. No, it's Frostbite or whatever it's called. But other than that, I will say I love this book. I think I gave it 4.5. I was thoroughly entertained throughout the entire thing, and I really liked Bjorn as well. I liked Freya. I liked how strong she was, and she was stubborn and a little hateful as well. I enjoyed seeing that in her. Danielle L. Jensen also wrote The Bridge Kingdom, a series that I also very much love. Although I can't find my 3rd book. I don't know why I'm looking here because it's up there. No? Oh, there it is. I lost it for a second. I don't know. I need to reorganize my shelves again. Nothing feels like it makes sense right now. Anyway. So if you like that duology, definitely look into this, or that series. It's not really a duology anymore, but if you like that, definitely look into this. It has the same kind of feel to it, writing wise. Freya definitely has things in common as well with Lana, I think her name is. And I think that's cool. Like, that's Danielle L. Jensen's thing as well. Like, we got fiery kind of lead girls. I know there's been a trend lately with these like softer girls being popular. I like both, but I think for me personally, I'm drawn towards the dagger wielding gals a little bit more. I also don't think there's as many of them as a lot of readers seem to think there are. If I look at my book collection, there's definitely more softer girls than daggery girls. I just think the popular books just happen to have dagger wielding gals. So anyway, but yeah, keep that in mind. She's definitely not a soft girl, so if that's not your thing, you know. But she does definitely have things in common with Lana. I really enjoyed it though. I really enjoyed it. It was a ride from the start to finish. I had a hard time stopping reading, which is terrible because I do spoilery vlogs on our primary pigs, and I can't binge them because then I have like one day worth of footage. I was gonna do anything with that, like start the vlog, do the intro, and then, oh, by the way, I finished the book. The next clip. It doesn't work. So that's fine. But I loved it. 4.5 I think it was. Yes. 4.5. What else do we have? I've read a lot of romance in March. Like, I was definitely on a romance kick. So I have like 5 romance books that we're gonna talk about. Maybe we should... I also read a fanfic. Oh my god. That was... This has been a fun month. This month is a lot more like everything just kind of fantasy, but last month was a ride. Let's actually talk about Uzumaki by Junji Ito, which is a graphic novel or a manga. This horror, definitely. And like body horror, a lot of that. So if you're squeamish, no, it's a no. If you don't like being scared, I didn't really necessarily find it scary, but I'm also not easily scared. I think I'm a little bit too desensitized, unfortunately. But definitely like a lot of body horror in this. Like, we're talking, how much can I say without spoiling anything? It's essentially about a town that is haunted by spirals. So like the people that live in this town or village, it's a small place, they start to see spirals in everything. There are spirals turning up out of the blue, hurricanes as well, whirlpools in the water, snails are a thing. What else do we have? I don't want to sit here and start thinking about spirals. I had a whole thing after reading this, by the way. I was thinking about hurricanes quite a lot. I've never seen a hurricane. Like, why would I do that? I don't exactly live in a place where we get a lot of hurricanes, if any. If you want like a little bit of sneak peek, so this is just like grass, I suppose, or flowers or something, and you see all the little spirals. There'll be a lot of that throughout this. Also, there you go. A whole lot. Oh, there was a little bit of body horror, a little bit, but there's like a whole lot of that throughout this book. So I loved it so much. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was so good. I think I ended up binging like the last half of it in one evening or something. And some of it is so grotesque. Like, I just want to emphasize again, if you're not into body horror, stay away from Junji Ito. Do not even touch it. Like, do not. It's his thing, pretty much. He's very much like grotesque drawings. It's not even so much a vibe thing, it's just grotesque. So I would definitely stay away from him if you are squeamish like that. But other than that, this was so great. We also follow 2 people in this, or there's a woman a girl who I would say is the lead character, and then she has a boyfriend who also shows up quite a lot. The whole thing actually, I think it starts out with his dad going a little bit obsessed with spirals. She also has a brother who's also a bit of a focus at times, but it's mainly our girl that we follow throughout this book, and a bit of a journey. And spiral into horror, definitely. I'm gonna reread this in the fall. That was great. It was good. It was so good. And I'm so happy that I have Tomi as well. Should I start Tomi? I'm kind of feeling like reading something other than romantasy right now, or fantasy. I don't know. This just reminded me that I have Tomi. Let's talk about some of the... Actually, let's talk about this one. Bit of the romantasy one. So Bride by Ali Hazelwood, which is her... She writes a lot of like... You can't see them, can you? Yeah, the women in STEM. So Love Theoretically, The Love Hypothesis, what is the last one? Love on the Brain. There's a new one coming out which I think is Not in Love. I'm not sure that's featuring a scientist as well. I can't remember. Check and Mate also has clever kids in it. So this is kind of like out of her zone a little bit, which is very interesting, but I loved it. I loved it so much. Yeah, 4.5 stars I ended up giving this. So we also, I don't read werewolf romance, so I was a bit surprised. Just like a little bit. Not that there was a werewolf in it, but you know that if you've read it, you know what part I'm talking about. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I think that was very legitimately my reaction to it. I was like, huh, okay, well that's different. I wasn't going like, ew, or what the heck? I was just like, oh, that's different, okay. But anyway, so we follow our lead girl, who is a vampire. And so she is the daughter of the leader of the vampire. I feel like I butchered that word. The leader of the vampire area? Question mark. And so she's been kind of like sent off as a pawn in this like political thing. So we have the population is split up into 3 areas. The humans area, the werewolves area, and then the vampires area. And to make sure that they don't start fighting each other, there's a whole lot of humans, by the way. We do hold power. We're not necessarily afraid of the vampires. The vampires are not super powerful in this. They do have some mind controlling abilities, but like other than that, they're not super powerful, fast, anything like that. So we got power also because we have numbers. Just want to say. And so to make sure that there's no fight breaking out between the 3 areas, the 3 populations, because everyone wants to avoid that, they basically send off a kid from each of the population to another area to make sure that like they have leverage. They're basically held hostage. And our lead girl has just come home from having been sent off to the humans area, I think it is, when she finds out that her best friend, human as well. She hasn't just gotten home. She's been living in the human area for a little bit, but she's had been one of those children before. She finds out that her human best friend has gone missing and she needs to find her. And then she starts overhearing some things, such as the werewolf leader needs to get married as part of this, like, we're holding hostages. It's completely fine. And he might be connected to the disappearance of her friend. So she's like, I'm gonna go get married to him. It's fine. Because she needs to find her friend. And when she gets there, there's stuff going on and like, do they kind of like each other as well? It's very cute. It's the best way I can describe it, probably. Hold on. Is it cute? I think it is. It's nice being inside her head as well, although you gotta keep in mind, like, this is definitely a thing with narratives, that she has been severely traumatized by— I'm laughing when I'm saying that, it's not funny. But she's been severely traumatized from being sent off by her father to basically be a hostage. She doesn't really have an identity either. She's just kind of become what everyone else wants her to be. And so it's nice seeing her kind of have this like character— what's it called when you evolve throughout the story? Words. Character arc? She just has like— she changes throughout the story, and it's nice being in her head and seeing her make these changes and just getting to know herself a little bit better as well. And the romance is pretty cute as well. He's like— if you want like a he falls first situation but with a werewolf, yeah, it's got that. Also, I feel like it's called romantasy, but it's like written like a rom-com, not like those other romantic— like not like a Fate Inked in Blood, which is very heavy on the fantasy. This is more like romance with fantasy, which is romantasy. It's a difficult one to kind of explain. It's written like a rom-com, but it's a romantasy. I still need like a proper distinction between romantasy and fantasy with romance, because to me, I think it's a romantasy as long as the plot doesn't work without the romance. So Throne of Glass would work without the romance. The romance is not taken up like a huge part of it, except for maybe like a little bit in the first 2 books, but like not really. Whereas A Court of Thorns and Roses doesn't really work without the romance. So definitely romantasy, but I think the other one is fantasy with romance. But like Bride is so different from A Fate Inked in Blood. So I'm a bit like, where is the line drawn? Like, I don't know. But yeah, romantasy written like rom-com. So let's talk about a sequel that I read. I have that book. Why do I— hold on a minute. I just completely forgot that I actually had it as a physical copy because I read it on my Kindle, or my iPad, because I don't have a Kindle. I would love one, but it's fine. So I read Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sue Lin Tan, which is the sequel to Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which means I finished a duology. I'm so proud of myself. Baby steps. Baby steps, okay? Baby steps. And this was, I can't tell you what this is about because it's a sequel. But we follow in the first one Xingyin, who is the daughter of the moon goddess, and she has powers, but has been, or magic, but she's been taught to keep them down and secret because they don't want, like, the celestial kingdom has sent her mom to the moon in exile, and so to avoid them visiting, she doesn't want her magic to flare up and like send signals that, hey, stuff is going on the moon. What is happening? Also because they don't know that she exists. She was sent off to the moon, like her mom was sent off to the moon when she was pregnant with Xingyin, so they don't know that she actually exists. But then unfortunately one day her magic does flare up and she has to leave the moon, and so she ends up in the celestial kingdom where she starts to study different things, including magic, I think. She gets to know the crown prince. She also starts training, especially like with a bow, but she becomes a pretty badass warrior. Has a little thing with the general as well. I think that was his title, commander. I can't remember. He's a thing. A leader of the army. But deep down, Xingyin just misses her mother, and what she really wants is to become, I don't want to say powerful enough, but like do enough good things so that she can get the celestial emperor and empress's blessing to basically take her mom out of exile. And so that's what she's working towards this entire time that she's in the celestial kingdom, which is a long, long time, by the way. These are mortals. Time's different for them, so it's not like a year, 2 years. Actually, it might be. I can't remember. But anyway, I feel like it took some time. I feel like it was more than a year. But anyway, so this kind of picks up where the first one leaves off. And I will say, like, I still love this world. I think I gave the first one 5 stars. This was more like a 4. It wasn't as good as the first one. I still love the world. I love Xingyin. There was just a lot of focus on the romance in this one, instead of focus on Xingyin and what she's doing for, well, there's still talk about like what she's doing for other people. Still a lot of family talk as well, but I just wasn't feeling it the same way. Like, I still love Xingyin, just not as much as I did in the first one. Also, a lot of hesitation between these guys. Like, my girl, what? Anyway, so it wasn't as good. It was just pacing wise as well, I think. It was a little bit on the slower side. The first one was also a little bit on the slower side, but it worked in a way, whereas this was just kind of a little bit slow. Still a 4 star. I enjoyed it immensely, just not as much as I enjoyed Daughter of the Moon Goddess. So let's talk about some more romance books, because we have a lot to go through. Only One Is Us by Chloe Lees, which is the first book in the Berkman Brothers series, which is like 7 books, I think it is. I have book 1 and book 6, and none of the ones in between. So that's good for me. Well done me. I don't know how I ended up with a 6th book. I don't remember. I have ordered the sequel though after reading this because I loved this so much. I have written down 4.5 stars. So what's this? Oh, so not perfect, but like we're getting there, you know? So in this one we follow our lead girl whose name I forgot, Willa. Okay, Willa. And she's like very into sports. She also has a mother who's not doing well health-wise, who is in fact slowly, she's too sick. Yes. And Willa loves her mother so much. Willa also goes to school with this dude whose name is Ryder. And Ryder is a bit of a grump, but also he has hearing issues, which he's kind of not necessarily like he's not doing much for himself to deal with these hearing issues, so he just doesn't hear very well. It's kind of a newer thing and he hasn't really come to terms with it yet, and so yes. And so when Willa, who's struggling a little bit in some classes, needs her papers or like lecture notes from Ryder, because the professor said that Ryder has the notes because he can't hear very well, he doesn't hear Willa asking for the notes and basically just, from Willa's point of view, ignores her. Yes. And she starts to jump to conclusions and stuff, and so everything just kind of, they get off from it's a really bad start for the two of them, you know? And then the professor is like, I'm gonna give you guys study mates. You have to do this project. You two are working together, and they're like, no. But, you know, it's fine. It'll be fine. This is definitely another one of those where I've enjoyed just seeing the characters deal with their problems in a healthy way, in a comfortable way. They both have their things. Willa has a hate for men as well because of her father, who's not present, and also the situation with her mother, and Ryder has the thing with his ears, and it's nice seeing them kind of like throughout the book coming to terms with things and facing them head on, doing something about it. A lot of emotions in this one though. Just want to say, like, a lot. Willa is not for everyone. I read some reviews after. I didn't mind her. Like, I don't personally see what all the critique was about, but a lot of people seem to not really like her as a character. I don't know. Like, they just found her annoying, so I just want to let you guys know. Not my personal opinion on her, but some people found her a little bit annoying. But yes, definitely want to continue the series, so we'll see when Only If It's You, I think the sequel is called. We'll see when it shows up. I'm not sure that's the title of it. But they all have like similar titles, so I'm a little bit confused. That one is like If Only You. That's only when it's us. Only If It's You? Is that not the title? Ugh, I'm gonna get so annoyed now. Always Only You. Oh, okay. Always Only You. There is no Only If It's You. With You Forever. I'm confused. Is there a system to this? It's fine. It's fine. I just haven't figured it out yet. But anyway, let's talk about another one. So, The Simple Wild. Another emotionally charged book. So this is by K.A. Tucker. We follow our lead girl. She lives in the city. She's a city gal. She does Instagram, I think. Or the equivalent of Instagram. She has this friend who basically only cares about Instagram and getting followers and posting about their perfect life and fashion and, you know, all that stuff. And then she has a mom who she lives with and her new husband, but has never really gotten to know her dad very well because her dad lives in Alaska. She was born in Alaska as well, but her mom took her and brought her to whatever city she lives in. I forgot. I want to say LA, but like I can't remember. Just imagine LA, it's fine. But then one day she gets a call from someone, or like a letter or something like, I think it's a call from someone who knows her father, who basically wants to notify her that her dad, health-wise, is not doing very great and that she should probably come visit him in Alaska to get to know him a little bit better, see him, talk to him. Like, he could really use her there in his vicinity and get to know her, support him while he's going through his health issues. And so she takes off to Alaska, and her mother's like, do not fall for any pilots while you're up there. As you probably have noted that that's what her mom did, because her father is a pilot. He is obsessed with Alaska, will not leave Alaska. It's a whole thing. And so when she arrives there, she is not so nicely welcomed. Not really welcomed very well. This rude man shows up. A pilot, of course. And he is straight up rude. He is judging her by her clothes, by the fact that she wears makeup, and he's basically like, oh, she's super superficial. That was such very superficial. Let's go with that instead. A girl who's only here to whatever. I don't want her here, but I need to bring her to her father, who I work with, but I don't like her. I definitely do not like her. Sure. His name is Jonah, and there's this, you know, one thing leads to another. Our girl is slowly unwrapping herself from this like previous life that she's had with the makeup and the clothes. I just want to say, I got really annoyed with Jonah because girls can wear makeup and still not be superficial. Like, and I don't mean like makeup, like, I mean like full face makeup. Some girls and boys just find it fun and artistic. Like, it doesn't have to be for superficial reasons, you know? You can also just love wearing makeup and still be a super deep person. He got a little bit like, he was accusing her of all these things, but really what you're doing is basically just admitting how superficial you are. Judging every book by its cover. Okay, so I got a little bit annoyed. I'll admit, had some heated words about Jonah in my 24-hour readathon. 48-hour readathon when I read this. That video is not up on the channel yet. It'll be up at some point. He did annoy me quite a lot. For a phase. There was a phase, okay? But I liked seeing their relationship just like slowly evolve. Him getting a little bit less that, turning a little bit less that judgy. Becoming less judgy, let's put it like that. And her basically like slowly finding herself as well, because it is about her as well finding herself. She's gone to this place that she grew up, or she spent the first years of her life, she was born in Alaska and then spent the first years of her life in Alaska, and so she's basically coming back to like roots even if she's not fully aware of them, and is slowly finding herself and figuring out what she actually likes to do instead of just following everything that her friend does and preaches about and stuff. So it was nice seeing her as well, just like evolving a little bit. And then it's a duology, so you've been warned. I was aware, but I didn't know that the duology would be like that. And so a bit heartfelt as well, but a little bit heartfelt. And I really need to get into the sequel, which I do own. I think it's like right here. Wild at Heart, I think it's called. So, but that one I ended up giving also 4.5. Wow. Okay, we have 3 more books to talk about, I think. Oh, let's actually talk about the fanfic. 4 more books. Let's talk about the fanfic because I read Manacled. I think that's how it's pronounced. Manacled by, oh no, I don't write author names down in my book. By Sending You. Yes. And it's Harry Potter fanfic. You've probably heard about it. It's massively popular. I don't know how to exactly explain what. Ignore the ending of Harry Potter. Okay, ignore the ending of Harry Potter. The good guys have lost the war. And some girls have been taken, I want to say prisoner, captive, yes, and been sent out to different Death Eaters to basically bear their children so they can repopulate the magic wielding population, the wizard world, so they can get more wizard world. Voldemort is at, this sounds, if you don't know Harry Potter, you're gonna sit there and be like, what the heck's going on? How do I explain this? Voldemort's the bad guy, okay? He's evil, and he is in control of the world at the moment. The bad guys won the war. Or the bad guys have won the war. And there is this guy called Draco Malfoy, who Hermione is her lead girl. I'm actually having a moment. I don't know how to explain this. Anyway, Hermione is our lead girl. She's sent off to Draco's mansion because she's like assigned to him, and things aren't good. A lot of triggers in this one, by the way, just want to say. Like, a whole lot. I felt miserable the whole time reading it. And I just kept on reading. It was really good, but I just felt miserable. I was like, oh, I can't wait to go back to bed and read Manacled so I can feel miserable the whole time. Anyway, but an important thing to note as well is that Hermione has some memory, some gaps in her memory. There are certain things that she can't remember from the wartime. And Draco is acting kind of weird. He's cold and like shut off, but like there's still, it's weird, and she starts to remember things, and things are weird. It's all strange. Draco's father is this psychopath also, just want to say. Like, okay, I don't know how to the synopsis probably does it a whole lot better than I would, but I also want to, like, if you don't know, it is literally Harry Potter is dead in the aftermath of the war. In order to strengthen the might of the magical world, you know, repopulate, Voldemort enacts a repopulation effort. Hermione Granger has an order secret, lost but hidden in her mind, so she is sent as an enslaved surrogate to the High Reeve, which is Draco Malfoy, to be bred and monitored until her mind can be cracked. And it's a thick book. It's like 1,000 pages, by the way. I felt miserable the whole time. It was harrowing. I really loved it though. Like, I should probably not say that because I've definitely not read a whole lot of fanfic. This is my first like actual like longer fanfic read. So I'm a little bit like, I don't know what I can compare it to. It does feel a little bit more raw than books, but I still felt like it was pleasantly written at the same time. You definitely see inspirations from other works like Handmaid's Tale, but obviously Harry Potter, as that's sort of what it's based off. But it was a good time. I mean, it was a miserable time, but I had a good time with it. I love the turns. Suddenly there's like, we're jumping back into the past, and that was like 400 pages. I felt like throughout it wouldn't have been good to see this split up into different books. I don't think, because the story's built up in a way so that it wouldn't really have worked that way. Definitely is fitting for one book, but I did feel at certain points like, oh, I've definitely read enough for this to be one book by now. And then we get to the flashback and I'm like, okay, so we're continuing. Like, there were moments like that, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I was looking forward a lot to going, because when I read on my iPad, which I read this on, I lie down to read because it's good for my back, and so lie on my side. And so I was looking forward to finishing up work and going to read this. Every day that I was reading it, it was really, really good. But trigger heavy as just a lot, just a whole lot. So be aware that you have been warned, but also quite not a fun read. Not fun as in haha, but like, I don't know how to explain it. Hopefully you get what I mean. Anyway, we're moving on. It's like one of those books that, or fanfics, whatever you want to call it, that you're gonna start out with. It's gonna, like, you're gonna love reading it. You're gonna have a good time reading it, but it's just gonna make you feel sad the entire time. It's one of those. So it was a fun time. Like, I had a good time with it, but I just felt sad and miserable the whole time. What readers don't do to themselves. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna recommend it to you though. If you want to feel miserable, but like be entertained in that kind of way, it's a good one for that purpose. Okay. Yes, that's what I'm gonna go with. Okay, moving on. Let's actually talk about another romantasy. I think this was the book club's secondary pick. I just finished it so late. Can't remember if it was February or March, but Court of Blood and Bindings by Lisette Marshall? Is that? Yes, Lisette Marshall. Romantasy, so think romance but fantasy elements. We do happen, or it does take place in like a fully fictional world though. We follow a girl who has grown up in a not so happy home. Her parents are kind of rude to her all the time. She has some powers that she's not really learned how to control. The power system in this world is quite interesting. So you take, like, what can I touch right now that has, let's go with this one. Blue is healing powers. So if I touch this, I can't because I'm just a human, but I can cast heal. I think it's healing, but I might be misremembering. Anyway, it's because yellow is change and red is for damage or destruction. Is this not mending then? Anyway, so I would basically take all the blue out of this cover and use it for my magic. And that's how it works. So if you have something teal, you have both yellow and blue in it. If you have something purple, you have both red and blue in it as well. And if you have something black, you basically have access to everything. So it's quite interesting that way. But she hasn't learned how to control these powers. And so she has accidents after accidents working at this, like, I think she worked at a designer at first, and then she started working for her father who does art. He's not very successful. In fact, I think he sucks. He also sucks as a person, so you know that's just karma, but that's fine. And then one day, this, like, they call him the Silent Death. He's a very menacing fae warrior. He turns up and he sees her doing magic and he's like, he doesn't say it because he can't talk. He doesn't have a voice, but he's like, it's quite clear. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, you're coming with me, but he's not really. He basically just grabs her and takes her somewhere. Because as it turns out, the fae queen needs to be taken down. And so he needs the help of our lead girl because nobody has access to magic anymore in this world. They've all been what they call bound, but our lead girl has not been bound, which is a bit of a mystery. Like, why does she have access to her powers? But he sees this as an opportunity because she can help him take the queen down, who also happens to be his mother, so that's great. And it was lovely. Definitely reads like a series, so just be aware of that, but definitely lovely. Very, very easy to read. A little bit steamy, smutty at times, just like a little bit, not like overly so. And I think I really like him as a character. Creon, is that his name? You ever get to that point where you've read so many books that you just forget names? I hate it. I want to like be respectful enough so that I remember the names, but I just cannot remember the names. There's so many. It's easy when they're like, Maggie Moves On. Yeah, because her name is Maggie. But I think his name was Creon. I like seeing his, I mean, she has her things to deal with as well. This is like emotional trauma and like working their way through it as well. She has her issues to work on, but he has so much. He's old, he's fae. You know how it goes. He's been alive for a little bit longer than she has and has been through some stuff. There's been several wars in this world, and so he has some powers as well. It's just like trauma. And I like seeing the journey working his way through all of this. I also liked, and I was really scared that this was going to be annoying to me to begin with, but I like how they communicate. It wasn't bothersome in any way. He doesn't talk, but he does sign and he does write, and so it, you know, you just get kind of used to it. as someone who loves dialogue in her books, I got a little bit nervous, but it was fine. I found it completely fine. The world is entertaining as well. Our lead girl is a baddie too, not with daggers, but with magic. And I hate the Fae, or some of them. Some charming characters in this book as well, or in this series. I have also read the sequel, but we'll talk about that in the next wrap up. And so we'll definitely be continuing the series as well. Quite fun as well, just want to say, quite fun. Humorous at times. So, and then we got the last two. Let's talk about Maggie. Let's talk about Maggie Moves On. This is by Lucy Score. It's a romance. Contemporary. I can't feel my legs. We follow Maggie, who is, oh god, I had issues with this. So she's a content creator. Okay, what she does is she moves from house to house and she renovates them for her show on YouTube. At least I'm pretty sure that yes, YouTube star. She's a YouTube star. And I only had issues with this because I know the ins and outs of YouTube, and it gets a little bit like, this doesn't add up. We'll get to that, but anyway. She renovates houses, so she moves somewhere, renovates the house while she's living in it, and then she moves on to the next house, all for her YouTube show, and she does this with her ex-husband. And so she gets to like this dream property in this small town. It's like almost like a famous building in this town, and so the town is very eager to see what's going on with this renovation. She gets a lot of help from the surrounding people as well, the people in this town, including this guy whose name is Silas or Silas, however you want to pronounce that, who is a gardener. And the two of them, he's like, you're mine right away. Not like that, but he's like, you're gonna be my wife, essentially. One day you will be my wife, right away. He was a little bit in lust. Just want to say, which then, you know, it's fine. But she's very much like, listen, I'm moving on. We can have fun, but I'm moving on to the next place. As soon as I'm done here, I am moving on. And so it's essentially about, it's from her point of view, but mostly or only, I can't remember. Yeah, I can't actually remember, but basically it's about him trying to convince her to stay for the whole renovation process. The thing about this was that I feel like she says she wants one thing and then she's like, but I have to move on. It's like there's this constant like, oh, but this house is so lovely. It's my dream house, but I gotta move on. Like constantly. You could make it work by just traveling somewhere and then renovating the house and moving back, like, or going back. It's fine. You can make that work. It's like problems out of nothing, decisions made out of nothing for no reason. These like little hints that she loves the house, but like, I can't stay anyway. And what really got to me sometimes was all the talk about views and budgeting. And I'm like, they're not adding up at all. How is she affording this house if a good 24 hours for her is like 30k views? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. So there's a lot of talk like that, also because she would need to hire so many people. She'd need the budget as well for the house, traveling, and they do like a certain amount of videos a month, which is quite normal for these bigger channels. But also her channel is like 900. A big thing in this book is that she's reaching 1 million. So it's not like, even if she has 1 million, 30k views in the first 24 hours, it's not that good. So I'm like, this is just not adding up in my head. But that's because I've been doing this for 7 years, and so I know the numbers and stuff. I know how much people get paid, and I know how much they get in sponsorships and stuff, and it's just, numbers-wise, it's not adding up. That's not on Lucy's score, though. She just wouldn't know, I think, and YouTubers tend to not really talk about it because I don't think we're allowed to, or something like that, or maybe it's tacky to talk about money. I don't know. But like, it's fun seeing from the outside, but I was getting a little bit like, this is not adding up at all. Because money is a big talk as well throughout this book. Her and her ex-husband talk about, he's got like, his job is taking care of the money and sorting the money, figuring out how much they can use on workers and on the next house and stuff. So that's his job, and they talk about that a lot. So it's not like it's throughout the entire book and I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. Well, that's fine. I feel like that's how scientists feel about the Atlas 6, you know? Like, it doesn't make sense. Just have to learn to just ignore it. But I will say, like, I didn't deduct stars based on that, so I did end up giving it 3.5 though. It's mainly because she's so indecisive, and Silas was a little bit like coming off very, very strong. He kind of scared me a little bit. Like, if the first thing you're telling someone is you're gonna be my wife one day, I don't know if that was the first thing, but it was like close to the first thing, I'm instantly like, You can only get away with that in the book because you look cute. Anyway, so that's the thing. Yeah, I think that's all I gotta say for Maggie Moves On. Also definitely touches on like workaholism. She's a workaholic and she has to really confront that because she needs to slow down and just figure out what does she do outside of work. And I felt like that was nice to read about as well. One thing Lucy Score did get right is that when you're a content creator, it becomes like content creation all the time. Like, what can I do to create more content? How can I fix my schedule so that I can create more? How can I just work more hours into creating content so I can get more content out there? Not necessarily for money, but more like wanting to share all the time and just having to justify spending time on something so that you can like, but you're justifying it by also creating content out of it. And I feel like that was a nice part of it because I don't think it's necessarily something that people outside of the content creation sphere is aware of, that you're very much in this mindset. It's one of the curses of being self-employed, I suppose. But that was nice to see from someone else's point of view. So we'll give it that, yeah. And it was funny. Charming, funny, yeah. Lastly, we have Salt Kiss by Sierra Simone, which is the first one in a new trilogy. This is... I actually got a spoiler for the last book in her Camelot trilogy, I think it's called. So that is American Princess, American Prince, and American King. I have not read American King. Spoiler in this one for American King. Just want to let you guys know. And so it takes place in the same universe, if you will, but we follow a guy who has been hired as a bodyguard for this owner. He's like an ex-soldier of some kind, and he's now an owner of this BDSM club. to put it in just like straight up, that's what it is. Or it's not, it's a kink club. Sorry, but there's a lot of BDSM talk in it. And so our guy though has never done stuff, never been in love, and it's very new to him. This whole world is completely new to him. Like, he does not really know, and he is very much drawn to the owner, his, you know, who he has to bodyguard for, who's also getting married to someone else. A woman. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of drama in this. So I will say Sierra Simone does write polyamorous books. That sounds so weird. As if the book itself is poly. There's poly characters in her books, okay? I just feel like I phrased it wrong for a second. So, you know, there might be a little bit of a ménage à trois in it, but like we're working our way towards it. A lot of like on-page stuff happening. Definitely, if you want, like, let me just, which can I compare it to? Okay. There's not really actually a lot of that in that. There's smutty books, and then this is erotica. So, because like sex and kinks and stuff is very much an integral part of the plot, and so this is erotica. That is what it is. So if that's not your thing, I think at some point I got a little bit like fed up with it. I also had to read it in one go because it was for the 48-hour readathon, so it was a little bit like too much on top of each other, ironically. But like it just became a little bit too much for me. And then at some point I just I stopped feeling anything at all when I read it because I was completely desensitized. I don't know. But yeah, so will I continue the series? I don't actually know. I don't know. I think erotica as a genre is not necessarily for me. I do like smut in my romance books, but I also have to, it doesn't have to be like the plot, if you get what I mean. Like 50 Shades of Grey, not for me. I don't actually know if those books are well written either. Sierra Simone though does write beautifully, so I do want to just beautiful prose. It's a very like flowy way of writing, very descriptive in the way that she explains the different scenes, as well as like you're never lost. You always know exactly what's going on the page. Very descriptive, very flowy in her language, and so that's like, I will give it that. I just think the genre for me is not it. But anyway, so that was it. I think I gave it 3.5. So, but that was it. That was a long one. I've sat here for over an hour. I can't even talk. I've sat here for over an hour. Feels like this is like the theme of today. I just skip words when I talk. Which sucks. Anyway, I'm gonna go get some food. But if you guys want to read a little bit more about the books, I will make sure to leave links to them in the description box down below so you can go check them out. I know that my synopses, summaries sometimes get a little bit confusing. They're a little bit all over the place, and sometimes I'm not super good at describing things, so I will leave you the links so you can go check them out. Again, if you want to check out the book club, there's a link to that in the pinned comment. But other than that, that is all I got for you guys today. So if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also all the other booktube stuff, definitely consider sticking around by clicking on the subscribe button. But I'm going to leave you to it for now. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!